By combining searching, filtering, and exporting into one task, email forensics can be made easy with P2C. This video is just one of many videos in the free P2C training video series from Paraben. In this segment, we will be demonstrating how easy it is to export, keyword search, and filter your email examinations in one easy step. With email, especially with network email, you can have millions upon millions and hundreds of gigabytes of email. And when you analyze this email, you're going to be using keyword searching, you're going to be targeting specific email boxes, and you're going to be possibly restricted to certain date ranges. To be able to process through all of that data in a traditional forensic examination can take you days upon days. P2C has a built-in exporting and even a batch exporting wizard for email that makes this much, much easier. So I have loaded into P2C here a case file that has email within it. So this is the same case file that I've been using for demonstrating P2C. And I'm going to come down here to the data triage here so I can just show you quickly exporting email and some of the options that we have with it. And then I'm going to go into the batch export of network forensic email so you can see on network forensic email how easy it is to do batch exporting. So here we have an Outlook Express email file. If I right click over this and choose to export, P2C is going to detect that this is an email file that needs to be run through the email exporting wizard. Now if this were a different type of file, it would just ask you to export this to a folder or to a forensic container. Since P2C is pretty smart, it says, hey, this is email. Here are all of your options for exporting email. And this is going to save us a lot of time. So you'll notice that I just loaded the case. I haven't done any analysis with my email, but I'm going to export it and run different options, filters, and searching all in one export, and then I can just look at the results, and it's going to do most of my analysis for me. So the first options we have here are the source file. Of course, by default, it's going to pick the source that I right-clicked over. But if I want to change some of the options here and say, I don't want to go through everything, I want to only go through the personal items here, I can change that to specify only personal items or only sent items. So at this point, even immediately, I have options to really focus on what I'm going to export. If I've gone through and bookmarked data, I can choose to export all bookmark messages for this point. Next, I need to choose the output format. I'm going to choose PST. That's the most common for people to export to, because most people in an office environment run Outlook, and they can easily mount this exported results up and look at the data. So the destination, I'm going to browse. I'm going to just do it to my desktop here. Now keep in mind, if I export to PST, I must have Outlook installed on my system. If I've got Outlook installed on my system, then we can output to PST because we utilize the libraries within Outlook to create that PST file more accurately. If I only want to export the attachments, I can choose the attachments only at this point. So now that I've got my output format, I can again choose to include attachments, or I can say I'm not interested in attachments. I only want to know what's in the message bodies. I can choose to limit the file size. If I'm exporting to PST, there is a limit to the file size. It's important to know the file size for the version of Outlook that you have installed. Some Outlook files from older versions have a limit of only 2 gigabytes. Some of them are over 20 to 40 gigabytes. So look that up first, because if you do create a version of PST files that doesn't support the file size that you're creating, it's not going to do you any good, because it's going to corrupt the file. It's not going to be able to reopen. So keep in mind you can limit the file size. Next is where I can use my filtering options. This includes text searching, Boolean expressions, so I can do that. I can even add my load words if I've got my text expressions in a text file. I have all of my options from the code page to the locale to even searching within hex. I can choose the scope of where I'm going to search, if I only want to search in bodies or subjects. I can also limit the attachment types. I can say I want to search in attachments, and I only want to search certain types of attachments. But I want to do a broad search. I can also add date time filters. So by default, this brings up or. I'm going to change that to and. I want to do between a certain date range here. And I'm going to add that filter. Oh, you know what? I'm going to remove that filter. I'm going to hit next. Here I have deduplication options. I can export all messages, whether they're duplicates or not. I can choose to export things that are unique to a folder, unique to a mailbox, or unique to a storage. Now keep in mind that the deduplication is based off of the body, because as you have a message sent at different times, there are going to be different identifiers in the header that will change the hash value of the overall message. So we're doing this based off of the body. That's the only real accurate way for us to be able to duplicate messages is that way. So once I hit finish, it's going to go ahead and change or show this in my running tasks, and it's going to start saving it to my desktop. You can see the task is finished, and because I actually didn't put any keywords in there, it's not going to have any results. So my sample here didn't have any results. Let's go ahead and show you a little bit different option here. So we're going to choose the batch exporting wizard. Batch exporting is a little bit different. With the batch exporting, I don't have to have the email loaded into my case. In fact, I don't even have to have a case started. I can run the batch exporting wizard, which is a separate program from my start menu, and jump right into it. With the batch exporting, I can choose to add folders or files containing email. So if I have a dozen PST files in a folder, I can just choose this folder. Say, all right, let's navigate to that, and it's going to load them in, and it's going to process them one at a time. If I add in an individual file, I can say, all right, I'm going to add in an individual, say, network email archive. Let's look at this. I'll add in an EDB, and it opens up that file as that. If I want to add multiple files to my storages, I can say, hey, I can add in a second EDB file here. Actually, I'm going to change it to GroupWise. And with GroupWise, it is based off of a folder. So I'm going to go back to NSF, choose my NSF file, and I can add. You can see I can add as many of these as I want. I can detect the source data in subfolders. So if I have a folder with a bunch of subfolders of email files, I can choose to do that. And auto detect source. As I've said before in other videos, P2C is smarter than I am, so I'm going to let P2C determine the source, the version numbers of the email that I'm loading in. And then again, I have my filtering options. So I can add keywords in here. I can add where I'm going to search in. I can add a date time filter if I want to. And I can choose an export option. I'll do MSG this time. Common options that I didn't cover in the last one are continuing on error. So if I have network email data that is corrupted, I can continue on error. This will basically skip through until data and email messages are able to be read again. I can close P2C after it's finished. I can open the folder with exported data after it's finished as well. So there's just some automated options, and I'm set. So you can see how this is going to run. With exporting through hundreds of gigabytes of files, this might take you several days to export through, search through, run the filters and everything. So you can go ahead and expect it to take some time to finish. So this is the basics of batch exporting and exporting through email within image files and your case data with P2C. Thank you for joining me.